Welcome to EMP Podcast with your hosts, Ernest, myself, Mario, and Pascal.
Today, we're going to go over the 3 short films that lead to Blade Runner 2049. We're going to summarize their plot and then our opinions of their events and themes. So the first one is Blackout 2022. The short film was directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, and in the world of anime, he is known for Cowboy Bebop, Macross Plus, and 2 episodes in the group of Animatrix shorts. That is Detective Story and Kid Story. The year is 2022. The opening scene is a fiery environment with a shadowed silhouette walking through some burning debris. The man is holding an unclear small spherical object. Opening captions explain that the Tyrell Corporation let the Nexus 6 replicant model elapse in storage in favor of promoting the newer model Nexus 8 into the local and off-world marketplace. Furthermore, this newer model has a lifespan that matches that of humans. The very existence of this type of replicant resulted in the human supremacy movement, fueled by a hatred of these manufactured creatures. We then see city environments plagued by riots, involving people seeking out replicants using Tyrell company databases of information and killing them. The next scene is a young female replicant named Trixie being hassled by 3 people. She is rescued by another replicant, a much bigger male named Iggy Cygnus, who brutally kills their assailants. Elsewhere in a police office, Gaff from Blade Runner 1982 and another officer discuss 5 Nexus 8 replicants who have escaped from the off-world location of Calantha. Calantha is a war zone that Iggy and Sapper Morton escaped from. Gaff declares that this is a problem for the military to deal with. Meanwhile, Trixie and Iggy steal a semi-truck, throwing the driver onto the expressway the vehicle was traveling on. An explanation for the origins of Trixie follows, occurring 2 weeks earlier, as she is a pleasure model for Ren, a man who works at the city's power generator. He discusses with her his beliefs that replicants are a better species than people, reciting Tyrell Corporation's "more human than human" slogan to finish off the scene. For an explanation of Iggy, we get to see that he was a combat replicant model in Calantha with a mission to kill targets, whom he discovered were also replicants, thus revealing to him that the entire situation was a group of Nexus beings killing each other for the enjoyment of humans. Ren's employment facility actually feels like a military base since he, along with other staff, launched a missile. He sabotages the missile to explode, causing an EMP blast that results in a blackout and its effects referred to in the 2049 film. At the same time, Iggy and Trixie use their truck to also trigger detonations, destroying an installation where archives are kept, including listings of all replicants. Ren is caught by his superior at gunpoint, and Trixie is killed by guards she attacked at the archives, much to Iggy's distress. Like Roy Batty in the 1982 film, we see a dove flying into the sky at the moment of her death. The EMP blackout kills power on numerous areas on Earth, causing many deaths, some as a result of anti-gravity vehicles losing power in mid-flight, crashing into buildings filled with crowds, and many other populated areas. Lastly, captions describe the result of the blackout, including the prevention of replicant production, killing any future for the Tyrell Corporation. In spite of all these events, the Wallace Corporation, 10 years later, was actually allowed to breed a new model of Nexus replicants. As the last shot in this film, we see a reveal of Iggy as the man in the opening scene who is holding his right eye as the only item that can identify him as a replicant. Okay, so Nexus Dawn 2036. The film is directed by Luke Scott, and it is a meeting between Neander Wallace and a magistrate comprising of 4 members. The site, theboronheist.wordpress.com, identifies this authority as Magistrate Sector EL1R9-27. The discussion is Wallace's desire to again engage in the production of replicants. The notion is immediately dismissed by one member. All of the magistrate then declares that it is only because of Wallace's technological successes against hunger that they indulged in this meeting. He reminds the members that his efforts are still not enough and human extinction is probably inevitable. He states that the only hope for survival is off-world and that replicants are needed for this endeavor. A representative then describes that off-world colonies are already thriving, but Wallace corrects this belief by saying that these expeditions are not enough. The member states that they do not want to see more deaths as a result of more of the Tyrell type of replicants. Wallace then describes that the lifespan of his new proposed model of replicants will be as long or short as the customer desires, that they will obey, and that they will never act against their owners. Wallace then reveals that the secretary that led him to a chair at the meeting, assistance needed due to his blindness, is a newer model of replicant. Chronologically, this scene is the very first time a Nexus 8 is ever revealed. Wallace orders the male model to cut his face using broken glass from a container he himself broke, both orders given by Wallace. He then provides a choice in death, either Wallace or his own life. The magistrate members react in horror as the replicant slices its own jugular, ending his life. The end of this short story is Wallace declaring that it is the decision that will be made in this meeting that will determine the fate of humanity. So for the last short film, Nowhere to Run 2048, the story centers on Sapper Morton, who appears in the opening scene of Blade Runner 2049. The film is also directed by Luke Scott and takes place 1 year before the events of the film. At the beginning, Morton is in front of a mirror, washing his face in a filthy public bathroom while experiencing intense, painful emotions. He leaves this bathroom, walks into a heavily rugged, dense market after being hassled by a small group of punks. He then meets a young girl, Ella, and her mother, whom he is friends with. He gives Ella a book titled The Power and the Glory. Its story is about an illegal priest who is trying to understand the meaning of being human. Morton gets apprehensive and begins to leave the area when he sees some officers, clearly because he is an illegal replicant. He goes into a shop and sells to its owner his engineered nematodes at apparently a much cheaper price than he anticipated. He walks out of the store to see the same punks that hassled him previously trying to abduct Ella and her mother. He rescues the women but kills the men using unnecessary, excessive, and extreme force considering they were retreating at the time of their deaths. Ella and her mother are disturbed when they see the guys dead, as is Sapper himself, once he sees the look on their face and the look on the onlookers in the market area. One of these individuals gets on a public phone and calls the police, reporting him to the authorities. It is clear that this call is why Kay in Blade Runner 2049 is put on the assignment to bring him in. I got a lot of information for the short film from the site theboronheist.wordpress.com, which described that the PTSD symptoms Morton experienced at the beginning is from his experiences when he was in Calantha, the place he escaped from. Also, the site explained the reason the punks were hassling Ella and her mom were for human trafficking purposes. Okay, so I guess now we can discuss it. We should probably go ahead and do it also chronologically, starting with the Blackout, which is the best one in my opinion anyway. So I have some.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the best one out of all of them. I mean, it's the only animated one. They you can go all out with the animation, and they certainly did. You know, I didn't realize it till afterward. Well, I was watching it, and I was like, damn, somebody watched the Matrix animated thing. And then I realized later, yeah, this guy, it's the guy who did it is the Matrix, animated Matrix.
Well, he did, he did Detective Story, which I love. And he also did Kid Story, which I hate. So, the Kid Story is probably something that I probably would have given more of a chance. And I'm sure the story is good. It's just the style is just way too loose for me, and that like quote unquote sloppy style is the the scene in Blackout where we see the guys killing themselves, and you find out they're replicants. That is what Kid's story looks like, the entirety of it. So at least in this film, it's only like maybe a minute.
Yeah, reminded me a lot of the old heavy metal too. Some parts,
Yeah.
I guess you're calling it sloppiness, but it's just a stylized
Yes.
way of doing stuff. But it totally works.
I think probably loose is the more better term to use. Sloppy is probably offensive. But yeah, there's so much in this story that it could have been its own movie. And I wish, like, because I saw a guy review Black Lotus, the Blade Runner show that's coming out in the fall, and he hated it, and he didn't think he was too impressed. I wish the whole show was based on the Blackout, like an extended version of it. That would be great, because there's so much plot in here. The thing that is lacking though is Ren is the guy who operated the missile. So he's introduced to us with Trixie, who's a pleasure model. And you're supposed to get out of that scene that he doesn't like humanity and that he prefers replicants, and that there's a kind of emotional connection there. And the scene is too short to sell that to me.
They didn't get into any of the details about their relationship. They just want to establish him and his disillusion with the human race, and seeing the purity in replicants that humans themselves seem to have lost in his eyes from his perspective.
Yeah, I wish, I can't remember the exact words he used, but they were definitely negative against humans. And I guess...
Yeah, well, I think it's sort of a logical... I think it expects you to have seen the first Blade Runner, because they're like a logical extension of Roy Batty and what's her name from the first movie. And in fact, these characters represent the characters in the original book, the Philip K. Dick book, the Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, because that's what those guys were actually ultimately, something similar they had in mind, because they already knew at the beginning of the book, because it's part of the plot of the movie that them finding out they can't live anymore, but they already know that before they get to Earth in the book. So I mean, they come back to Earth to be sort of revolutionaries. And yeah, I mean, it seems like something straight out of the Philip K. Dick universe that these two people would. But yeah, like you said, I feel like that was a conscious, first of all, because they didn't have a lot of time, probably, or money, resources to. I mean, I'm sure the filmmakers would have loved to make this into a full, 2-hour movie or 90-minute movie, or a whole series would be awesome. But of course, this is just was to promote the new Blade Runner movie. But yeah, I think in a lot of ways these people are like sort of the spiritual extensions of the characters from the original Blade Runner movie. And this is something, if they would have lived through that movie, this is something that they would have done,
could you imagine if the two of them had a child? That would be great.
Right, yeah. That's maybe for Blade Runner, like 3367 or whatever.
Well, that would be 100 years later.
Yeah.
And that would also explain why there were so few characters in the animation. It's because of the budget, time limit. They really try to skim it clean, because it does seem a little odd how two people will be sent on a mission that would completely rewrite history and just erase history of the past.
It's almost kind of like the end of Fight Club, where they destroyed
very similar.
Yeah, the buildings with all the archives and all that stuff, and everybody's backstory.
I would say that I think Fight Club is very kind of keyed into the same sentiments that are in this version of Blade Runner and the original version, and the new one to some extent. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody kind of feels the same way about some stuff as far as the science fiction kind of sector of science fiction. These people.
Well, it's very anti-establishment on a certain degree, definitely, which was definitely prevalent in Fight Club and everything. Like the one thing I did appreciate is that they killed off Trixie And I'm saying that in the sense that I think it's much more like there's much more spirit to a story when the protagonists get their goal, but at a heavy price. You know.
Yes, I was actually expecting Iggy to also die in the explosion. I was actually very surprised to watch him walk away and survive. I was expecting him, because of the size and the impact of the implosion, for him to be sacrificed as well for the cause.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The thing that I did have a problem with, though, you know, he like slowly walks out of the truck and hits every one of his targets, and nobody hits him. You know, it's like, you know, that was a bit much. I mean, the sound design was great. You could really feel it when he fired his gun. Of course, the artistry of the style was pretty cool. However, and I don't know if you guys saw this, the very beginning when Iggy is walking, you know, and it's barely a silhouette, and at the end, the animation is awful. It's like it's really very choppy. I mean, maybe it's because I have an eye for these things and everything. I don't know if they at the end, because just like movies, I'm sure animated films have reshoots or whatever you want to call them. So it seems like it could have been something they tacked on at the end, and so they had to get an animator to do it quickly, and God knows who they found. But it is like choppy. Like first off, Japanese animation, like at least in the realm of series, not movies, but in the realm of series and some films, like what was it? I mentioned when I discussed frames per second, it was like basically 24 frames per second, and in most Japanese features, it's much lower than that, and that's budget and all that kind of stuff. And this felt like it was like 5 frames per second. It was really bad, and I'm surprised they put that in there.
It could have been intentional, where if you remember, you said the main character Iggy was walking, we're all assuming it's Iggy walking towards us with something spherical on his side.
It's his eye. It's his eye.
Yeah. And also, he was probably walking in Calanthra and holding his helmet, and it was a very choppy, muddy, you know, image of him.
Yeah.
So it might have been done on purpose, just to not reveal everything of what is just a kind of a clue.
I wish it was, but it just seems like it's not a mistake. It just seems like it's, like I said, a last minute kind of addition, and just poorly done. I don't know. It's amazing when they do that. So when you have something that funky, it's like, do you leave it in and it kind of damages the rest of the film artistically, or then again, as far as plot wise, it's pretty good. It does, you know, you get to see Iggy surviving the whole ordeal, and as a symbolic sign of his the fact that he got his mission accomplished is the fact that he takes out his eye, and because of that, it signifies that no one on Earth now knows who's real and who's a replicant.
Going back to Iggy being able to shoot everybody with ease, that kind of reminds me of RoboCop, how they would implant him with the technology to be a super soldier, auto aim, using as little movement as possible to hit his target as easily as possible. Because he is a replicant, they are able to genetically modify him to be a super soldier, super killing machine. He's able to possibly move, even with the peripheral of his eye, be able to accurately shoot somebody with minimal effort and movement. So I kind of saw that. I saw a super soldier, which is exactly what they're bred and made for. They're made for war. So for him to be able to overpower, outshoot, outmaneuver people, just walk through and be able to kill everybody easily is kind of what they're designed for.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's a combat model, so he probably has much better eyesight than we do. So yeah, it would make sense that he would miss. I mean, yeah, he would miss. But okay, so that part of it is resolved. The other thing is he was being like they were shooting at the guards at the archive plant were shooting at the truck. The guy just and Iggy just walked out of it, opened the door, stepped out, and just started shooting, and they never hit him. So that's a little ridiculous,
Unless she was facing away from where most of them were located. Maybe she was on the other side of the shooting. So yeah, but that did seem a little odd because they never revealed what position the truck is actually in compared to where the guards are.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
She might have been in a blind spot, which made her feel comfortable. But what's even more funny is how she would jump out and attack everybody without a gun as if she's opposed to actually killing anybody, even though the first thing she did was throw the mirror and probably kill the person that she threw the mirror at. But yeah, that was kind of odd how she would not even pick up a gun and she would resort to physical attacks.
Well, but yeah, once again, that's sort of like a callback to the first Blade Runner.
Chris.
She was very gymnastic. The replicant lady, the one, which one I'm talking about. The one played by Splash.
Chris.
Hannah, Daryl Hannah. Is that who that is?
Her name in the movie was Pris.
Right. Yeah. But is that Daryl Hannah playing her?
That was Daryl Hannah. Yeah.
Okay.
And they, you're right. They, Trixie was her equivalent in here because she's very agile and she did all these pirouettes and stuff.
She even did almost some of the same exact moves,
Yes.
The flips and stuff,
Yeah, she did grab a guy with her thighs around his neck and flipped him over and all that stuff. Yeah. So
I guess they trained the pleasure models to also be excellent gymnasts in the future.
Yeah, I guess.
So one thing I realized is that Trixie is very reminiscent of the Matrix training simulation, where even if she had no experience, she had nothing in her memory or training or anything like that while being a doll, a prostitute. She might have been trained as if plugged into the Matrix and uploaded all the information, because all the movements she kept doing, they were accurate and no movement was wasted. She was completely 100% confident in all her moves and all her gymnastics, as if it's a computer doing it. And the computer doesn't hesitate. It doesn't overthink anything, because when we do anything physical, we always look for danger. We always look for instances where we can mess up and hurt ourselves. So sometimes that leads to accidents because we are downloading and processing so much information trying not to hurt ourselves that we fail to make a decision. And because we don't make a decision, we end up hurting ourselves because we can't react fast enough to the dangerous situation. And she has no hesitation. Like a machine, she lands and executes all her moves perfectly at all the scenes she does any action scenes. So that's one thing I noticed.
Well, yeah, there's nothing like she doesn't have any like PTSD to waver her concentration or anything, and it's like you said, like it's like in the Matrix, they implanted all that stuff into your mind, and then next thing you know kung fu, so.
Yeah.
So it's just like memories. They gave, since she's a pleasure model, and I don't know if you're a pleasure model, I don't know why they would give someone like that and Pris the ability to. Well, then again, if I remember correctly, when the guy who was talking to Deckard, when he was describing Pris to him, he said that she was pleasure but also aggressive. So it's a duality thing, but I don't know.
Well, maybe in the future, some people have some weird kinks that involve gymnastic tricks.
I guess otherwise, other than that, I don't know what the benefit would be to have essentially a prostitute be able to elaborately kick your ass at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's a big industry with the sex workers, dominatrix
and wrestling and all that stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. So who knows what else Trixie can do.
We can always think of Tesla, their cars. All of them are actually powerful. They're all capable of ultra speed. Their highest setting. The only thing that holds them back from their the highest speed is the actual program, the software inside, not the hardware. The hardware is equal in all the cars, so all of them can be upgraded to be the fast to activate its highest speed available to be a supercar. So that might be the same instance with the replicants, where they're all capable. They all have the ability to be superhuman, to think, outthink any human, and also outperform any human physically. But it's all the program inside their mind might be limiting them to be as weak or as gentle as a human, rather than a replicant, which is capable of everything.
Well, if that is the case, if there is some limitations, it would probably be in Nexus 8, because the Nexus 6 clearly were. Well, then again, it's certain that both Nexus 6 and actually one website mentioned that, and I don't know if this is like something Ridley Scott and the writer of the scripts for Blade Runner 1982 created, or if it's just a fan theory, but they claimed that Rachel was Nexus 7. She was basically kind of like Nexus 6, but she had no 4-year lifespan. It was longer. But then again, we're going to which version of the film we're looking at, whatever. But Nexus 8 still, granted they were supposed to obey, but as Ernest mentioned in our last podcast, there's disobedience all over the place in the 2049 film. So again, that effort failed, and of course we do see that Nexus 8 are stronger than humans, because when Deckard is trying to get away from Kay, and he locks the door behind him, Kay runs right through the wall. So yeah, so they're clearly superior to us.
I would suggest to somebody who wants more of this, that this is outside of the Blade Runner universe, but Altered Carbon put out an anime very similar to this kind of thing. Very cyberpunk. The books are great too, and the TV show's all right. But
Altered Carbon had also an animated piece.
Right, they did a short, much like one of these. It's probably the same length as what we watched. That's part of the same story. But Altered Carbon, the show's pretty good. But the animated thing is less investment, time investment. But I guess a couple of cool things about this segment before we move on is we've got a couple of cameos from people from the other Blade Runner movies. We got Edward James Olmos,
yes,
who kind of looks like he dies at the end of this. So it's kind of weird that he pops up in the last one, because it kind of looks like his car just falls out of the sky, right?
No,
because he's driving it. He's like, go.
No, he wasn't driving it. They show him at in the office, and then the car's crashing at the end is just a non-specific car, just to show the.
Oh, really? I could have sworn he was driving that one, but maybe it was somebody else.
No, it was somebody else, because the only scene in the animated in Blackout is when he's in the office and he says that this is only it's the military to handle this problem, which seems.
All right. I mean, I'm gonna go back and check that. Maybe we can put that up on the screen while we're talking about it, and the people can judge whether or not that's Edward James Olmos falling out of the sky. But the other cameo, and I'm sure this is debatable, but the dove, I'm pretty sure that's the same dove from the first Blade Runner movie that Trixie sees there at the end, up in the sky. It's the same dove.
It's it's not the same one, but it's
no. I'm pretty sure we got Edward James Olmos and this dove. Those are our two callbacks for this movie.
The dove flying away is in reference to the scene in Blade Runner.
Well, I don't know. There's nobody saying that's not the same dove. And that dove's probably a robot anyways, so they can live for 1 billion years, as far as we know. You know what I mean?
I don't know if they're like parakeets where they live forever.
Well, I mean, they say in there that there's not very many animals left on the planet. Almost all the animals are robots, like the owl, in the first Blade Runner one, where they talk about how expensive. And even the book, half the plot has to do with Harrison Ford trying to buy a goat, like a real goat.
Yes.
Because everybody wants to own animals for some reason. But he just needs to get. If he killed more robots, he can get a real goat.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move to Nexus Dawn 2036. And the one thing that I'm surprised that has never been introduced into the plot of either films or these shorts is the implications of creating a human-like species. Slavery is never a topic that's ever discussed. Now, I wonder, at least for these short films and 2049, I'm wondering if it has not been brought up as a point of discussion because the authors of the scripts didn't want to deal with the consequences, because that could definitely be controversial, or the fact that Wallace never mentions it, and Wallace will never mention that, even if he believed it, because it would be something that would cause a problem with his plans. But the magistrate, the 4 people there, I'm surprised they never had him mention that, because the reason I think it would even come to them is because they're probably just narcissistic anyway, just people in power.
Yeah. This is probably my least favorite one out of the 3, the Nexus Dawn one.
I
one of the few things what was kind of cool is it's got a lot of people you might recognize from other stuff. And I realized a trend with all 3 of these movies, or 3 of these short pieces, is that they all got people from the show The Doctors, which I've never seen. I just saw this. I noticed that in all the IMDb pages. So this one, just like the other 2, has that. But it's got Benedict Wong in it from the new Marvel movies, who plays a guy named Wong,
and also
in the Doctor Strange movies. But with Benedict Cumberbatch, which is kind of weird that they're both named Benedict, and Benedict Wong's playing a guy named Wong.
Well, he was also in Sunshine, which is an incredible movie. Maybe one day we'll discuss it, because there's a lot of themes in there.
Yeah, he's in a couple of good movies. Annihilation. He's in.
Oh, that's right, Annihilation. Yeah.
He's in The Martian.
Yeah. I didn't know he was in The Martian, but actually.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this now.
I don't think I'm wrong about that.
No, but also one thing with Wallace. Now, I think one of the themes maybe about him is that, okay, so because he does seem like a bit of a villain, but however, it's one of those things where he repeats over and over the fact that his efforts are to save the human race. Like one. And I'm gonna have to look up what his name is in the short. Who's part of the magistrate? He says, the off-world colonies are they're thriving, and Wallace is like, well, it's still not enough. We still need replicants in order to help in keeping humanity alive and stuff. So obviously his overall plan is good. He's trying to save humanity, but clearly in Nexus Dawn, what he tells the replicant to do is not inherently a good thing. It's kind of evil. And even though in 2049, he didn't specifically tell Love to kill in order to have his goals met, he still set those chains of events, so he does come off as a kind of villain guy, and also his demeanor is so detached and almost poetic, in his words that he just seems like kind of detached and not even connected to some of the evil consequences of his orders.
So when Wallace talks about saving humanity, he's pretty much talking about progress for the human race. The human race has used up its resources. It's failing to thrive and survive. So just like the colonization of the Americas. So in the beginning, it used every single available resource, such as slavery, just like replicants colonizing New World. They were trying to use any new way to not have to sacrifice themselves as much to colonize and expand their livelihood, because Europe was in a bad state and everybody wanted to leave. Everybody wanted to own land, which you couldn't back there because most likely you are on a lower side of society and you didn't have much money. So going to a new country where you hardly need money, but you can own land for cheap, you get paid for going there. You can start a new life. You can make something of yourself, just like colonizing a new world. And slavery, yes, it's absolutely evil and it is cold. And from a progressive mind, whoever is the leader, just like Wallace, they have to be detached because their only goal is progress. They don't care about the sacrifice and how it looks from the outside. And the only way to change the panel's opinion about the Nexus 8 is to do something that is shocking, because you can't rationalize making replicants legal again. So you shock value. You give the replicant a choice to kill him or replicant to kill himself.
Well, it's also to prove to them that because they're afraid that another set of replicants will end up with a bunch of humans being killed again. So clearly, the point of this film and Wallace is to prove to the magistrate that these Nexus will obey and will choose to end themselves if it's a choice of killing a human being or them. So he made his point, and he's like, okay, well, and at the very end, he's like, I leave it up to you, and if we don't do this, then the human race dies, basically.
One thing that I found funny is that how the replicant is at his emotional base, so that he's not stressed, he's not pushed to the limits of his actual emotional capacity.
Yeah.
So when you're at a base level, you will completely comply with your programming. But if you're challenged, if you're emotionally unstable, if you rationalize, if you're given new information, then it makes it more probable for you to try to survive yourself rather than not kill somebody else. There's certain things that will turn a replicant to do the unthinkable, just like we saw in 2049 with Joe. When Joe is pushed, when Joe is emotionally challenged and at a crossroads, he will go against his programming. So, but as a shock value, the panel is shocked and disturbed, but so they're not able to think of the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You saying that kind of makes me what if how Jared Leto's blind, how he can't see.
Yeah.
What if all the Nexus 8, all the replicants he makes, knows he's blind, and they're just kind of faking. He can't tell if he's the replicant's dead or not. He's fucking blind. All the replicant needs is like a ketchup pack and a butter knife. Like, oh look, I cut my throat. And be convincing.
That's
throwing that out there. I mean, because we know the replicants lie to him, like Joy in the in you know
You mean
the newer one.
You mean Love?
Oh, Love. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Joy's the hologram, right?
Yeah. But then again, like I mentioned before, when we brought that up about Love being disobedient, and by that you mean the fact that
although she's lying too. She lies to Ryan Gosling the whole time, but her lies kind of feeds into the fantasy world. I mean, they're all liars. All these robots, they're fucking liars.
Well, as far as going back to Love lying, sort of lying. Oh yeah, that's right. She told not Joy, the lieutenant Joshi, that right before she killed him, she goes, "I'm going to tell Wallace that you tried to kill me."
Right.
And in a sense, yes, it's a lie, but I'm still to the point where she's doing all of this stuff to basically gain Wallace's love, and also the reason that she killed Joshi is because Joshi, at that point, they were led to believe that the child, Rachel's child, was killed, and so that is something that is against what Wallace wanted, because Wallace wanted the child, and so basically, on some degree, she killed her because she destroyed something that Wallace wanted. So she's still just trying to please Wallace, So it's that's her goal in this whole story, is just to try to please him and to be the best in Wallace's eyes. Like we discussed that when she practically killed Kay, she's like, I'm the best one, And Mario, you're coming in a little metallic. Ernest is very clear, I'm glad to say.
I'm outside.
Okay.
There was a fire alarm, so I had to leave the building. So
Good.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, the fire trucks, I think they're just left right now.
Jeez.
So I'm gonna go
Did
back.
you leave a candle going, or what happened?
Somebody did. I smelled some kind of smoke downstairs.
Oh man, so good.
Oh, that's crazy.
So yeah, I'm going back now. It should be fine. So I'm gonna be muted for a bit.
Okay. All right then. We certainly got enough material for this short, and I will say, like you, Ernest, it was the one that I liked the least. Oh, and the last thing I'd like to say too, I was pretty surprised though that the environment that they had the meeting in, it looked like some rundown basement practically.
Yeah, right. It looked like a student film. Like it gave it a student film vibe for sure.
But they could have had a like kind of a business office and everything, and then for a while I thought it was in the basement, and then I saw you saw the background way behind Wallace, and you saw like a lit up billboard, so you knew they were elevated and probably on a high floor somewhere and stuff, so they weren't in the basement. But anyway, whatever. All right, so Nowhere to Run. This one, the more I watched it, the more I liked it, and then I was actually, let's see. First of all, one thing that was a big mistake in my eyes is the fact that, and maybe like you said, like the same problem with the short scene where Ren is talking to Trixie, and how I was complaining that it was too short. And you're right, it's probably budget, time, whatever. And with this, I think it was more budget than time, because I found out because of through that website that the PTSD that Sapper Morton was experiencing were as a result of what he experienced at Calantha. Now, that's never mentioned in the whole short, and I think that's a big mistake, because he's in front of a mirror, he's going through hell, and you have no idea why. If it is mentioned, then I missed it. Did you get the idea that he was going through PTSD symptoms?
No, that's one of the questions that I had at the beginning, but that makes sense now that you mentioned it, Yeah, the first time I watched it, that's the only, what's going on with this, because it's never established that robots can get PTSD,
Yeah, and they do mention in Lieutenant Joshi discusses Morton after Kay kills him in the car, and she mentions Calantha. And if you don't pay attention to it, you totally miss it, you know. The part in Blackout where Iggy is chasing other replicants and killing them and all that stuff, Sapper Morton went through the same thing. So he's basically having PTSD symptoms because of that. And I think maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think that the fact that, first off, he's in a bathroom and washing his face and dealing with these emotions, and right behind him are two people making out. So to me, that was pretty effective in showing the congestion of the city. You know, there's people everywhere, but also in a more poetic fashion, the fact that he's going through such an emotional experience. There's people right behind him, so even in that period, he can't even get any privacy. So to me, that really sold that out of like the aspect of congestion. So
not only no privacy, but nobody really cares.
Exactly, it's apathetic. Yeah. So so let's see. I definitely I love this one. Also, not only as a story, but the visually, it's really well done. You really get a sense of congestion, the overpopulation, the clothes, the costumes, the color scheme was pretty cool. The marketplace, you know.
Yeah, it almost looks like just something they cut out of the movie.
Yeah,
you know, like it would have, you know, of course it would have fit seamlessly into the movie if they fit it in somewhere. If they could have fit it in somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably long enough. The movie's long enough. That's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I wish it was like if they had like 20 more minutes of beekeeping in the movie, I would have been happy with that. Or
really,
you know, I think the movie should have been longer.
But
it totally like it feels like a part of a true extension of the movie, unlike the Jared Leto one, which seems like something that was kind of rushed and put together. There's actually, there's a lot of atmosphere, like you were saying. You know, it seems like he's really in that world. You know, walking around and trying to sell worms.
You think that Nexus Dawn is rushed? You said that you think that it felt like
I mean, it was a little more claustrophobic. You know, well, mainly to do because this one's outside. There's actually more than one location. You know, Nexus Dawn is all in that one room. You know, it just seems. Yeah, I mean, there's just less going on.
You know what I'm referring to. You said that the Nexus Dawn short felt like it was rushed, as in it was put together, not like what's the word, haphazardly. Is that?
I mean, that just might be. I don't know, filmmaking, but yeah, I mean, it seems like it was rushed to me. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what's. But yeah, obviously, we would have to take more time to make the Nowhere to Run one, just because there's more sets and more things. There's that whole fight sequence. You know, basically the Nexus Dawn is just people sitting down. They could have just shot that at a Holiday Inn and put like some blue screen or green screen up in the window. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it looked like.
Well, I thought for a president of a company, Wallace, to meet with a magistrate, you know, people of power, it looked like a basement. You know,
it's almost reflective of the state of the planet, where
this is true. That's true.
Where even the elite have to live and be associated with crumb and destruction, and just something that is withering away, that is not kept up anymore, even by the elites. So that was kind of funny to me, how they will allow themselves to be. Have a meeting in such a crummy place.
Yeah, that I agree with that. You know. All right, so let's see. The other thing. Okay, so this was a big thing for me. I was shocked that they did not expand on this at all, and it's the book that Sapper Morton gave to Ella. Is called The Power and the Glory. And now the book is about the story takes place in Mexico, and the Catholic religion has become illegal. God is illegal. So the book is about a priest who is because if you're a priest in this environment, you have the option of relinquishing your religion and receiving a certain amount of money from the government. And so that, other than that, you have to go in secrecy. And if you do continue to hold masses and to take confession, which is what this priest does, they seek you out and kill you. And they absolutely should have mentioned that in this short, because replicants, because of their mere existence, are hunted and killed. So I don't know why in the world it was not mentioned in the short, because the equality between the story in this book and what's going on in Blade Runner is fantastic, and it's something that's very important that they absolutely should have mentioned. It's a missed opportunity, if you ask me. I'm surprised that the writers, even with the fact that there's these shorts are like 6 minutes, and granted it's a short amount of time, just giving the book to Ella and just saying that it's a legal priest who's trying to determine the definition of being human, that's not enough. You got to go a lot more into the plot of the book, because I actually, and I don't have the time, unfortunately, but if I had the time, I would absolutely read the book, because it sounds fascinating. The Vatican publicly denounced the book.
So Sapper, when he gave the book to Ella, since he did just have PTSD, an episode of PTSD in the bathroom just moments ago, he's very shook. And when Ella asked, is it a sad book? Sapper doesn't want to answer, because he just had a traumatic experience. So he didn't want to admit that, yes, this is a very hard to read book, but this book will, unknown to her, make her understand what replicants have to go through.
Absolutely.
Give her empathy and give her some point of reference to relate to his situation, to her opinion about replicants. So maybe that's why they didn't go into it, because for time's sake, and also because he himself couldn't explain to her that yes, it's a very hard book to read, because he could barely stomach the thought of explaining that yes, it's very traumatic, it's a very hard read. It's a two-sided thing, because on the one hand, you first of all, you don't want to give away too much of the book, like at least as far as what happens to the priest at the end, and I'd love to find out how the story ends. But on the one hand, he doesn't want to traumatize her by telling her all of the gruesome aspects of the story. But on the other hand, he's giving her the book to read, so it's like, so she's going to be exposed to that stuff anyway, So I don't know. I guess it's cool in the sense that some of this stuff you do have to do some research to discover it, because I kind of like that, like when you watch the extra features of a movie, you get to find out why they use certain colors and all that kind of stuff. I guess it's kind of cool in that sense, but I do wish there was a little more from the book revealed in the short. Basically, I mean, again, the priest has a lot in common with Sapper Morton. But however, though, one thing I did find out also about the book is that the priest in the book is a very anti-hero, because, and here's the quote, yet he's a gluttonous, stubborn, and angry man drowning in vices, and the religious ambition of his earlier years has been replaced with a constant desire to drink. So you're not really meant to like this guy much. And in Sapper Morton's case, the guy helped deliver Rachel's and Deckard's child. So you definitely are put in a position where you're supposed to like this guy. So he's definitely not an anti-hero. Maybe in a sense that, I was about to say, you could kind of not like him because he killed those guys, but to go back to what Mario was saying, the guy is a trained killer. I mean, and you get to see this sometimes if you watch mixed martial arts matches. Some guys, they're
impossible to control once they get going. Like the referees have to stop them, because once that switch is thrown, they're a machine, basically, you know. And that's basically what I think happened with Sapper Morton. Once that switch was thrown and he became, again, a combat model, he went in for the kill, even though it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, he goes into autopilot and just unleashes until the threat is neutralized, and then he comes back to his senses and realizes the extreme actions have cost him everything, and he's so frazzled from the PTSD earlier and the actions he just committed that he just drops his papers. He doesn't even like think about checking if he left anything behind.
Yeah.
He just goes and he exposes himself. Which leads us to the beginning of
2049.
Correct.
I think, though, I would like to think and guess that if he was in in an alleyway only with those two guys after killing them, I don't think he would have been disturbed. He was disturbed because Ella and her mother looked at him like, "What the hell did you just do?" And everybody in the marketplace, you know, they were all just looking at him like, you're nuts. And I think that's the only reason why he felt self-conscious.
Yes. It definitely amplified it to the max, but I'm pretty sure he would still feel remorseful and resentful for going to such extremes. Because you're right, he did go into automatic mode, and his free will seemed to be gone at that point.
Yeah. So, you have anything to add, Ernest?
No, yeah. I mean, it was this is my second favorite out of them. You know, there's a couple of cameos in this one too. I couldn't really find any of them, but apparently the guy from Mythbusters is in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was all over Blade Runner. Like, if you look him up on YouTube, he's got a lot of behind the scenes with the guys from. I think I'm gonna have to look this up. I think the guys from Weta who did. Let's see. They did Lord of the Rings. They did the Mother film from Netflix. I'm gonna have to look up the specific title, which is actually phenomenal, by the way. You guys should watch that film. And they did the absolutely beautiful geisha robots in the Ghost in the Shell live action film. Those guys do some incredible work. And sometimes it's unfortunate that, like in Ghost in the Shell, it's wasted, because that is not a good movie. Yeah, but this is definitely my second favorite short. I do have. I'm glad to say that objectively, I think I like all three of them equally, because they're very good, pretty important stories. Maybe the one with Sapper Morton, it does not have any kind of groundbreaking events in the story. The other two definitely do, obviously, you know, but you do get a better sense of Sapper Morton, and you probably would get a lot more of that if they went into the book in either this short. I guess it would fit too well in the 2049 movie, you know, at all, to bring in the power and the glory. That won't make any sense, you know. But I guess they do mention that on some levels, well, obviously they do mention that he's a runaway in 2049. He's run away from the authorities, but Joshi barely mentions that he's from Kalantha, and I think the PTSD symptoms at the beginning of this short, the pain that he's suffering from, I think would have been cool if they mentioned some of that in 2049 to really show that he's suffering, and that when he gets killed, it's a sad event in the story. And also one thing that that bothers me in a lot of these movies, when Sapper Morton, moments before he's about to get killed, because he started to rush towards Kate, he basically says, if I don't get this quote correctly, I'm going to, once I put the video together, but he said that that the Nexus 8 have no issues killing and essentially persecuting Nexus 6 models because they have not seen the miracle of Rachel and Deckard's child. You know, if they saw that, then you would probably get more disobedience, you know, which is what Ernest mentions often.
Yes, they are programmed to be tools of the authority of humankind, rather than its own organism, its own person's own.
What, individuality? What are you talking about?
Yes.
Well, it seems that, and to go to support Ernest's points of the frailty of these creatures. Okay, so we have just a few instances where their programming can be undone, and it seems a little easy, to be honest. You know, it doesn't seem like rigid programming. And one, if you think you're born out of the product of a human and a replicant, then that can get you to go nuts, because you know that got K immediately to go off baseline, so he practically got fired. And the other thing with that is, okay, so Joshi tells K, you're off the force. She says, get yourself back on baseline. It's like, how do you, as a replicant, how the hell do you do that? You meditate? I mean, what the hell, you know?
Yeah, there's not much you can do. Yeah.
So then for Love, she didn't necessarily disobey, but she I don't know if, well, I guess lying would be part of that programming. So yeah, so then she did break her programming and say, you know, she was going to lie. But again, she is under extreme circumstances, which is the existence of a child, you know, born of replicants and humans. And then she finds out, at least she thought, that Joshi had this child killed. So that got her off track, basically, you know. So again, you know, like Ernest said, you know, it's a frailty in their programming, but my thing is, it's a powerful element to the plot, and I'm glad it's there because it really brings in a lot of spirituality to these movies.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be pretty boring, I guess, without that happening, but...
Unless, I guess unless there's more to say, I guess I'm ready to go. You guys have more to discuss?
I think we covered all the bases. I mean, Nowhere to Run, also the name of a great Van Damme movie and David Carradine movie.
Okay, all right. I didn't know that. I'll have to look that up. Yeah. Okay, I guess that's it then.
All right. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Tune in next week for our next movie. This is EMP Podcast with your hosts, Ernest, myself, Mario, and Pascal. All right, we'll see you next time.
See you guys at the next one.